Bill Gates was arguing with me today about making my computer work. It was,
Oh, okay.
I guess,
Pete, now, you sent one out, you said when you got to the new building, which one was
all
it?
right, what you got early this morning that was like 3 pages long was wrong. That was, I don't know what that was. But then I sent, and I couldn't get this attachment to the email. I sent one about 10 minutes ago that's got this attachment.
So this is it, right?
Yeah, those,
The one you just, at 159.
I came here and it would work from here. It wouldn't work from my office, but it would work from here, so I sent that at 1:59, and that's what you just got, just, yeah. Well, I'd asked Justin to make some copies, and so, he needed something to do anyway.
well,
All right, well, let's kick this party off. It is 9 minutes past 2. Officially called the meeting to order. Commissioner Malumbeka, could you lead us in invocation, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. And now, Lord, we come before you, asking for your guidance and wisdom as we conduct the business of the city and the people of Jackson. Please have your hand upon us. Lead our conversations for the benefit of the citizens. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So we just got the minutes, and it's about 9.5 pages, so,
It's 8 pages, actually.
is it?
Well, your format comes out different.
Oh, yeah.
It's-
Oh, yeah, the spacing's different.
That looks, well, it's a different typeset anyway. That's, maybe what you got's 9.5, what I just emailed everybody is about 8 pages, so. But it's the formatting difference.
I think we should,
Postpone those to later.
yeah, until we've had a chance to go through
I
them.
think you ought to, and I apologize to folks. I don't know why what I sent out wasn't attached, but and when I saw that this morning,
It's okay.
I couldn't attach it. But you got an attachment of this that went to you just a few minutes ago.
Should we make a motion to postpone, or just wait?
Just ignore it.
Okay.
I suggest we do it, and you don't have to have a motion.
I agree. Is everybody in agreement that we wait until we've had a chance to review? All right, thank you. Okay, we're cruising right along. Commissioner Malumbeka, financial update.
Yes. And I'm not sure if it's attached. Is it attached to? Okay, there you go. And before I go over this, I need some confirmation. I was trying to review the minutes just to capture what I made a note about an obligation for $1 million.
The only thing we did the only thing we've done since April, the only thing we've done since February was we obligated an additional $1 million for the neighborhood street program, for contract 1 on the neighborhood street program. So obligations will go up $1 million from last month.
Okay, all right. Then that's what I had, and I was trying to see that in the minutes.
It wasn't in the 3 pages you got.
Right, okay, all right. So,
It's over on page 5. It's on page 3 of this.
perfect.
One out.
Yeah, so then I did capture that correctly. For Fund 173, net obligations did increase to, and this is all rounded off, $138 million. Our revenues plus interest were at $151 million. Expenses at $121 million, and encumbrances for Fund 173 were at $5.2 million. If we go to the next slide. Sure. Question?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit last meeting, and I understand it, but can you tell us why those encumbrances have been charged 173 when they've got to be transferred? I mean, what's
Yes.
what's causing that to have to be something that's going to be transferred over?
Yeah, so the, essentially, the folks in Public Works that enter invoices and initiate payments to vendors, for some of the projects that are under the bond fund, we actually reported under Fund 173, right? So, in fact, when you look at the ledgers that are attached and get forwarded monthly, Under 173, you will see Medgar Evers, Mill Street. Some of those are showing up under 173. So what I've done is I've actually moved those manually on my end, right? Because all that will have to be reconciled by the time we complete the audit, move them to the proper funds.
But the ledger does show that it's Medgar Evers, so we would know that's part of what that 5.2 million is.
Right, yeah, so as
Gotcha.
you go through the ledgers, under 173, you'll see a number of projects, Capitol Street,
Yeah.
most of those should be charged to Fund 157, right? And so I just, made the notation, for us, because I have the awareness being a part of the commission, so that's why I'm capturing this information as such. Okay, all right, if we go to the next slide, for Fund 157, net obligations are at 35.2 million, revenues plus interest at 39.3, life-to-date expenses at 30.5, and encumbrances year-to-date at 1.6. Of that amount, we have about $3 million that will be moved from Fund 173, and a small portion from Fund 420. That is an internal MDOT fund that we have to maintain. Those expenses will be moved to Fund 157. And so when you add that amount to the expenses and encumbrances, the amount does come up to what's obligated, about 35.2. Any questions?
What's the difference? You got, the first line says you got an expense of 2.3. Then you got an encumbrance of 600. Then you got 120. That's adding up to 3.067.
3.1 million, right?
If you go back to the last slide, I thought it said it was like 5 million. Back up
Yeah.
one slide.
Yeah.
What's the difference of the 3
So
million
there is-
there? You're saying on the other one, you got 5 million to move over. This one says you got 3 million to move
Yeah,
over.
so, and all these numbers move, and you have to be aware as they work through the auditing, moves are being made throughout. So the numbers will be changing on a month-to-month basis. And what happened, about $2 million of that was for the West Capitol Street. That was ultimately adjusted, and that's why you had a.
So that's already been.
That was moved,
So if you
right?
go back one slide,
No, go forward.
no, wait, that one says, okay,
Yeah.
so it's now where it was $5 million last month, it's $3 million now.
About $2 million got moved. That's
Okay,
as they go
I
through the
understand.
auditing process,
I
right?
understand enough.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
I understand that.
All right.
I'm slow.
No problem, yeah. And the ledgers, by the way, did get forwarded by Tiffany, the monthly ledgers, so you could review those as
Okay.
well. Okay. That concludes the financial reporting.
All right, any questions for Mr. Malabeka? If none, Commissioner Wright,
Yes,
you get to update us on projects.
I get the chance to update you on projects. And we'll move first of all to the neighborhood resurfacing.
Actually,
program.
Commissioner, could we maybe start with,
They're part of it.
yes, with Neil Schaefer first,
Schaefer Group.
if you don't mind?
Right.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's part of it.
Ah,
One A, one B, and C.
perfect.
Yeah, great. Did everybody get this little packet here? Thank you. So I have our project engineer, Chad Toles, with us. So when we get into the weeds here,
Before we start, my friend, Mr. Neal,
yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you to please talk loud because this does not pick you up with your voice. I don't care if we put it right.
I know.
So talk loud so I can hear it when I listen to it right now.
All right, good.
Thank you.
All right. Can you hear me now, Pete?
Yeah, I can.
All right. All right, what you have in front of you, first of all, is Phase 1A, which we've been working on. And we're about 70% finished with 1A, And what you see here is the green is what we've done, we've finished. And then the blue is the other 10 streets that we added. When we added the last meeting, we added the $1 million to help with that. The reason this 10 wasn't on in the first place, because there were water line breaks, and we thought that Jackson Water was gonna take care of those streets, but they didn't. They just took care of the break, and so we're stuck with having to finish it. Okay?
What's the Taylor Street? Is it a utility issue on the,
Taylor Street is mostly complete, but it's not 100% complete, so that's why I did not color it green.
okay, so it's not a utility issue,
No, that's been all taken care of. And
it's
so
just in that other area, I just didn't know what.
Yeah, so there's some tie-ins to some side streets that have yet to be done. The main road itself has been paved.
Thank you.
Now, when we started this, we wanted to try to get as many miles as we could out of the money that you had. So we did a lot of spot repair. We were not going to repair the whole street. If we had some streets which we've identified that were going to take a lot of construction, we didn't do that because this is an overlay project. So what we did where there were real bad problems with curb and gutters where it wasn't functional, we fixed those. But what we stuck with is we wanted to make sure that it was functional, meaning the water would go down into the drainage area. But we did not take care of repairing all of the curbs. And that's what came up at the last meeting, I understand. So what we have done is gone back and looked at all of these streets, and we would say where the curb line is broken, or where the asphalt is several inches above the curb, we estimated what it would take to fix it or to replace the curb. So you have in front of you the cost for additional curb and gutter.
What the highlight.
That's the total amount. And to be honest, I was somewhat shocked. We were looking at almost $4 million.
And that's for the original 30 plus the added 10 is the 4 million to fix it
Just 1A.
for 1A.
So-
But is it not true that when we picked these streets and looked at them, we said, yes, they are bad, they need problems, they, you know, y'all's understanding evidently was maximizing resurfacing. As we said last meeting, ours was to fix the street, so there was a disconnect of understanding in there.
No question about
And
it.
so, you know, the fact that it's expensive, if this one street is gonna cost $250,000 to do and others were costing 17, if that street is that bad, wouldn't you agree that that needs to be fixed?
Well, what we did was, if it was functional, then that's what we did in the first place. But it's your call
Yeah.
as far as fixing the curb at
Well,
that level.
Where does, all right, with these numbers you got on here, where does Council Circle show up where it's paved above the street?
It's
Council Circle's number 18
All
on
right,
the
so
list.
is that money that's, everything that's over in this right column is somewhere where you'd have to go back and do some more work?
Yes.
Okay,
The-
gotcha. And I see, okay, I got you.
And then on the 10 added streets at the bottom, this is money that's over and above what I'd already estimated that y'all based the million on.
Over and above the million, okay.
Yes.
right. And
Because
so,
when I estimated the 10, it was based on how have been doing
Wait,
it.
no, wait. Help me out just a minute. The 10 streets down here, the million, the original obligation we made was $6 million and the original contract was 5.1.
That's right.
So we had some extra money in that original obligation. The request last meeting was to add 500,000, which would be basically $1.5 million added to the original obligation. And there was 100,000 that was for traffic signals or whatever. So we were adding $1.4 million onto the original, we raised that to make it basically $1.9 million.
Yeah, I can't remember the
Yeah,
exact numbers.
but so, when you say this is above this is part of the not the curb and gutter, I'm talking about the street
Well,
cost
it's-
itself.
It's part of the 6 million. You start off with the 5 million and roughly another million, right?
Right. But we started off with 5, we started off with 6, the bid was 5.
Okay. well,
And then we made the 6 move to 7.
Right.
The-
And,
the-
and when it's finished, it'll probably be a little less than that as far as its
Yeah,
construction.
okay.
Now, what you have here, though, is if you go back and replace the curbs, that's where that additional
Okay.
amount is on
But part of that's in that 7. Yeah, because we got an extra, I know at least $500,000 of it is.
that, yeah.
Yes.
You're talking about the buffer, the buffer,
Yeah,
there's a little bit of
yeah,
room.
yeah.
Yes,
That's fair.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
sure.
I mean,
Some amount, yeah.
yeah, some amount.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you look at Peachtree Street, it's, it's one of the longer streets and it had, going back and making the curb
What would happen if you took out the curbs?
and just,
Just had ditches.
Yeah,
Well, a lot of streets are like
a
that.
lot of these streets didn't have curbs on them.
that's right.
I mean, I'm just saying, Peach Street, the curbs that are there now are worthless,
Yeah.
wouldn't you say? I mean,
Well, I mean, some of them are conveying drainage, yes.
but a lot of them are under the ground, they're buried, they're basically level with the street
Yes.
because it's been paved over, they've settled down so much. So the question is whether, I mean, if we pave back to it, we're gonna have a street that's just as sorry as the street is now as far as the drainage is. And the reason that street is deteriorated so bad is because it doesn't have drainage on it.
Certainly one of
I
the.
mean, one of the causes. Well, besides it's old and haven't been maintained over the years anyway,
Yes.
but the lack of drainage,
Yes, the moisture gets underneath the asphalt or the pavement structure, it gets moist and it stays moist, yeah, it's
And
just
then you
gonna
get-
tear
yeah.
up. That's right.
so, and I'm not proposing to take out the curbs and not put them back as being a solution, but I'm just wondering, is that a bad solution? You'd have to do ditching then, wouldn't you?
Usually when you have ditch, you don't have it doesn't go into the storm drain a lot of times. It's just the ditch that it carries on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But then you'd have to maintain the ditch someday.
it would work on some streets and other streets it
But
would
it,
not work.
it would be cheaper. for
Yeah.
sure.
But it would certainly be cheaper, but is it a reasonable solution?
Again, it would depend on the street, because you're looking at, if you take away the curb and try to put a ditch in, then that's probably gonna uproot. It's gonna, it depends on what right of way is there. If it's a tight right of way, it
Yeah.
would require more right of way.
Yeah.
So it would depend.
But if you pave over, let's use Peachtree, that's a great example. It's not like Woodland Hills. Woodland Hills is the curbs, I would contend aren't draining most of it because they just go, they're broken or whatever. But
Yes.
if you leave Peachtree like it is, we're still gonna have a drainage problem on it. Then I think you gotta fix the curbs.
Like it is without this repair that they have in front of
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
Then I think you gotta fix the curbs. I mean, that's kind of where we were talking about last meeting is,
Yeah.
why do all this fixing the streets if we're not gonna fix the curbs?
So, quick question, as this goes forward and you go into the other phases, obviously now this has to be contemplated on every other phase.
Yes.
You haven't gone that far, I'm assuming yet.
I was, I was 2 or 3 days away from being able to advertise 1B and C before the last meeting.
Yes, yeah.
So now that I wanted to come to this meeting and see what you said, so now I'm gonna have to reevaluate all the
For all
streets.
future phases.
And
Okay.
I will, of course,
Let me say this, that a large majority of those streets don't have curb and gutter.
that's correct.
Sure,
Because this area is that oldest part of town.
where they did it. and it's
Where,
what it is.
in the areas, when you go out in these newer, I will call them subdivisions, that might not be the right term. A lot of them are built
There's not
without,
in my neighborhood.
yeah,
I
they're
know.
built without curb and gutters in them, so that's true in all these other areas until you get over, I mean, a few of the neighborhoods will have them.
Yes, but yeah.
But they're all still newer neighborhoods, so they're not as old. And they're not really as bad in the heavy Yazoo Clay area where they've been upheaved like they are in this particular.
I would say
Well,
that's true. I
and
would
you
say,
can see here that there are a number of streets that won't require too much.
Yeah. And there were a number of streets that didn't have them in this, but it gets better in those areas about not having curbs.
Yeah.
yeah, there were, in one B and C, there's a higher percentage of streets that did not have curb than in
Yeah.
one A.
And the ones that do have curbs
Or should be.
are newer.
Or a little, yes, a little bit better.
So you're saying there's probably $500,000-ish left in post this project before you get to this $4 million, so you're probably around 3.5 in addition to what we currently have left in the 7?
Yeah,
So it's 3.5.
I think we got it right now, forgetting all this, just to pave the streets that were, all the streets.
7.
There's probably about a $500,000 buffer in there,
Okay.
and what's obligated.
So between 6.5 and 6.75,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah,
No, yeah, that's right, yeah. How much do we have additional funding to be able to?
we've got the money right now. We've got $20 million of unexpended, unobligated money.
Yeah.
It makes no sense not to fix
Yeah.
the actual problem.
Not to fix
Now,
it correctly.
let me say what this, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
It might mean 1B and 1C, only one of those goes this year, and the other one might have to move to next year.
So, I guess that's part of my question, the $20 million, like, what have we done towards the other phases obligating funds? We haven't obligated.
We're not
funds.
obligated to anything for that.
Okay.
Now, we do have, and I'll go back to my promise to Mr. Malavecca, we probably have another $10 million that we could develop by de-obligating the leftover money from other projects that are closed and finished.
But we can do that in future months, that's not.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't have to do that right now,
Right, yeah.
but we've got $20 million of unobligated money right now. If we put $4 million here, we'd have 16. That might be enough to do 1B or 1C, but not both of them. But if we then went and de-obligated in a couple of months,
Eventually free up enough.
make a financial decision, we could possibly free up some other, but it might mean when we take bids on 1B and 1C, only one of those could get done right now.
What is the estimated cost on the additional phases? Do you remember? I never talked
I
about
don't
it.
remember.
The two
1B
together was 15.
Yeah, I
2
think,
was 15?
yeah, yes. One B is very similar mileage wise to one A, so
Okay.
being 5 to 6.
Did it include curb and gutter as well?
Not yet.
Right, yes.
Not yet.
Before-
So that's gonna
before
change.
reevaluating,
And
yeah.
C
It was 6 and
11.
10, I believe, or
That
6 and 9,
That
something.
sounds right.
The total for 1B and 1C
Was 15.
was 15.
Sounds right.
Yeah, 15,
15, 16.
yeah, somewhere in that number.
Then you're likely gonna have the money, yeah.
But-
Especially if you de-obligate other funds.
If we get around and do the work to de-obligate, and I'm talking about projects.
Even if you're talking about another couple million to be able to fix curb and
Yeah,
gutter and
yeah,
rest of this.
even if you do that,
Yeah.
we could, it means before we get ready to do that, we're gonna have to do the work to figure out, and I'm talking about projects that finished in 2018, 19, 20, 21, there's $200,000 here, there's 500,000 here, whatever. Add them all up, we'll come up with another $10 million.
Got it. Chairman, I'll make a motion. You all ready for it?
Yes.
So help me get it right. You wanna increase it by additional just 4 to be able to give a buffer?
I think you still need to have the buffer.
Okay. Make a motion to increase the funding by $4 million to address the curb and gutter situation on the outlying streets on the spreadsheet provided by Bill Schaefer.
You increase the obligation.
Increase the obligation by $4 million
For 1A.
for 1A.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Any further discussion?
I've got a question,
Yes.
and I think I know the answer. I don't think that takes a change order of the contract, does it? Well, let me ask it a different way. When the council makes a contract with DMB, was it for $5 million, or was it for this much per unit cost for everything, depending on what the unit cost gets to?
It was for 5.1, but I believe the law is you can increase, it's either 20 or 25%. And then after that, I think it requires a change.
So you'll have to go back and get a change order approving up to $10 million. I'm making up a number here.
Whatever I
Yeah.
calculate it to be.
Well, they've already done the change order for the $76,000. which I don't know why you had to do that since you did have that buffer, but that's, beside, I'm not worried about that.
Because it was, I think it
Is it-
added pay items.
It
that's
added
why.
pay items,
That's
it added a pay item. So you had to get a change order because it added a pay item. Here, you would have to go back and get the council for a change order to increase the amount, even though it's not increasing the contract, because the contract includes curb and gutter, it's much, so much a foot and everything. Thank you.
I do have a question though. Change order 2 that I worked up and gave to Robert Lee before he left, that was approved by y'all to add those 10 streets. I don't know where that, has the city, has that gone before the city? The reason I'm asking is if it hasn't, I could
Do it all at
probably
once.
add this curb to that,
Do
to
it all in
that
one
change
change
order
order.
2 and do it all at once, is what I was asking.
Okay.
So,
Ask the Public Works Director, he'll tell
Yeah,
you
I
whether
think we
it's,
need to research that. Yeah, I think we need to research
Yeah.
that so we can get back to you.
yeah, if you just
right
let me
now.
know.
Okay.
Somebody let me know.
And if it has not, then we can combine it
Yes.
in one order.
If that's all right with you.
yeah,
This will allow us to move ahead with one A.
yeah.
Right.
But we can't advertise one B and C till we figure out how much the curb and gutter's gonna be to add to
Okay.
it.
Go ahead and do that first.
Yeah.
You didn't hear me then?
He doesn't hear you when you talk like
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry. All right, what I said is, now we can go ahead and finish, once the council approves the change order, we can go ahead and finish one A. And we need to do it now because the
Yeah.
contractor's out there working and we don't need to hold him up anymore. But as far as one B and C is concerned, we gotta figure out how much the curb and gutter is gonna be added to it. And then come back with you and get your approval to advertise.
You're gonna have to come back and give us an estimate of what one B and one C is, and we'd have to, I agree with that. I've got one more issue I'd like to raise about one B and one C, but it applies to everything. I'm scared about advertising anything for work until we find out what the city is planning to do and how we're gonna manage public works without having a director or an engineer, because I don't wanna put a $15 million contract out there if we don't have somebody that's gonna be sitting here able to manage it. So, I mean, not disparaging our acting public works director here, but, you know, and so we got a little bit of time on that, because you can't come back to next week, but next month, but, you know, moving forward on a $15 million contract, I'd like to know what's gonna be how the city's gonna handle public works.
Right. We have a plan in.
Okay, if you wanna tell us that now, if you wanna tell us that later, it's okay.
Tell it later.
Okay.
It's gotta go before the council.
Okay, that's-
We're all working on a plan.
No,
to augment our
I figured
engineering.
you were working on a plan.
We're working on it.
And so, since that's in the process, delaying one B and one C right now is not a problem anyway.
No.
But can we go ahead and get the council to approve this one A change order? We need to get that.
Okay.
Yes.
As soon as you get it to
Yeah.
me.
Agreed.
Yes,
Right.
You'll
Thank
start
you.
working on it
Right.
now.
okay.
All right. Thank you, Hibbett.
All right,
Motion
thank
carried.
y'all. It's a great project and we really appreciate working with you.
It's looking good where, except for the curb issues, I mean, it's looking good everywhere. I do have a quick question, just over there in Woodland Hills, they'd done the circle, but they hadn't done whatever that cross street. Are they just waiting until we get an answer on this? Is that,
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know, I drove through it the other day and I saw it, but I didn't know what they were doing.
Because I needed everybody to pull off until I got an answer, because
Yeah,
if they got too far ahead, then they would have to go back.
sure,
So-
I understand, I just assumed that's
Yeah,
what it
no,
was.
so that'll be, likely, they'll do that when they come back.
Yeah.
And anyway, and then they'll move to wherever else.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
All right, thank y'all.
Thanks, Evan.
Appreciate it.
In terms of neighborhood resurfacing program, we do have another item that we need to get.
Well, that didn't deal with Neil Schieffer, the.
No, approval on. And that's regarding
To ask you to talk about.
Oh,
the
no, I
building
agree.
sidewalks
I
on those
agree.
streets in 1A, B, and C. And we do have a proposal of $149,000 for the engineering work on refurbishing those sidewalks in those,
What
on
is,
those streets.
what is the scope of work of that contract supposed to be?
Yeah, it's a copy of the contract. And I'll pass it out to the commission. I believe.
You're
Yes.
Well, I don't have a copy of it with me, so.
Thank you, ma'am. Scope of the work.
you give us, without having to read the 4 or 5 pages?
Right. It's,
Or somebody here?
yes.
Okay. No, I want to hear Mr. Righteous.
Oh, yeah, right, okay. Stephanie Vivians with Myriad Engineering Solutions. Robert asked me to give a proposal to provide engineering services to do the sidewalks for phases 1A, B, and C for areas that have existing sidewalks. And if you look on pages 1 and pages 2. You see, I have a list of the streets or routes that would, that have existing sidewalks.
And that will include all of the plans, specifications.
Yes, it
the
includes the plans, specs,
To do what?
to do the design work.
I understand that, yes, ma'am.
It-
Yeah, but what, I understand.
Design work that includes, if you have any surveying, I'm sorry.
I mean, if there's an existing sidewalk, what are we asking you to come back and tell us about the existing sidewalks in this? Is it just to say, here's where there are problems, or here's, we need to take out this 10-foot section and that 12-foot section? I mean, is it gonna be specific design on each sidewalk?
Yes, it would be specific.
Okay, I mean, that,
design.
I'm saying, that wasn't the case with what we asked Neil
Okay,
Secretary.
yes, if it was specific designs, if you're planning to, I mean, what I understood that you all were redoing the sidewalk. If the sidewalks are new, we're not gonna bother, but if their sidewalks are new and they're ADA compliant, we won't bother those, but if they're not ADA compliant, they will be corrected.
But you're only gonna correct this
As far as-
this 5-foot section that's not compliant,
If it's
rather
a-
than the whole 2-block long section.
If the 2-block long section is not in compliance, we will make sure that we do the design work. But if it is in compliance, it would stay as is, and my plans would specifically say, from this section to that section, this is
Okay.
where the
Okay, but-
reconstruction needs to be done.
Let me try asking a different way. You got a 500-foot long section, and it's not in compliance because this 10-foot needs to be fixed. Is your plan, is what you will come back is to say, this 10-foot section needs to be cut out and replaced, or we're gonna deal with the whole 500-foot long section?
The first one. Right?
Yes. If it's not, if a 500-foot section, there's 10 feet of it that's not in compliance, we will do design, a plan sheet that says from station, this point to this point.
10 feet.
Will be 10 feet, and
Okay.
then if it's omitted, it won't be any proposed, it won't be a proposed.
You understand the reason on our West Capitol Street project, we replaced a mile-long section because there was some uncompliant places in the middle of it. On our Meadowbrook Drive or Northside Drive, we replaced spots and pieces. That's what I was trying to get to. Yeah, so we're gonna replace, you would come back and say, this spot, this spot, this spot needs to be fixed in order to make it compliant.
Yes, sir.
All right, let me ask one more question, and this is not so much for you, but are we a step ahead of where we need to be if we hadn't taken bids on 1B and 1C yet to know whether we're gonna actually do them?
I think having a plan in place is probably wise if we plan on never doing it.
Well, we're not gonna do it if we don't do the streets.
I mean, I think we'll do the streets. I think we're gonna have the funds to do it.
Well, we think so, but I mean, I'm just saying we'll know better. My question is this, two-part question. For you to do what you're proposing to do here is what period of time? How long will it take? 3 months, 4 months, 5 months?
It may not take me 3 months to do it.
Pretty quick.
But I can give myself, I say 5 to 6 months.
5 to 6 months,
Yes.
okay. If it's 5 to 6 months, that's the end of the year, which is not when we're gonna turn around and say, let's start doing sidewalk construction at that point. Do we lose anything to wait until we see what comes back on the bids on 1B and 1C to get started on this?
When you say get started on, are you referring to getting started on design work or
On the
getting
design work.
started?
I mean, if we don't do the streets on 1B, we don't need the design work on 1B.
Let me ask you this, Pete, and you've obviously been here since the get-go, but, you know, to me, it makes sense that even if we go forward with going to bid on the sidewalk portion fall of next year, at least having the plan in place and having the specs to be able to be prepared for that, to not be rushing, seems to make sense to me, especially with that.
The reason I would, because we have a whole bunch of plans upstairs that we paid for that never got built.
So,
Because we
I hear you.
we made engineering contracts and we never did the project. And so we got several $100,000 worth of
Sure.
plans upstairs.
And you're privy to that, I'm not.
That's,
But I guess my other argument would be is that this is all coincides with this work that we are doing, on the roads we are doing.
on the
You know,
roads we think we're gonna be doing.
Yeah, but I don't think, and I understand what
Eventually we
you're
will,
saying
regardless.
thoroughly, Mr. Perry. But usually, when you're making the sidewalk ADA compliant, it does not coincide with you resurfacing the street.
It has every other time we've done it. This is-
No, because I don't know if you've noticed all those sidewalks that we've done recently.
Excuse me, I'm talking about the ones that we've done, the only time we've
Well,
done it.
this was one of,
And I think this is an improvement. I like doing it this way.
oh, okay,
I'm all for
okay.
when we decided to do this because sidewalks are a concrete thing and resurfacing the street is an asphalt thing. The asphalt people don't like doing concrete work,
Better
they'll
do it
do it.
separate, yeah.
So I mean, it made sense to do it separate. I certainly agree with that. And I know y'all have done a bunch of streets around the sidewalks. They weren't 1% money, they were city money, but they weren't 1% money. So they had nothing to do with it. The other
I
side of that
think
is.
the design work was, I think you all paid for the design.
If we
design
did,
work.
if we did, it was illegal because we have no authority to do sidewalks unless we're doing the streets.
Okay.
Is that that's
Statutory.
Gotcha.
We can't just do sidewalks. We can do sidewalks when they're associated with the street project we're doing. But
Is there
they
a
wanted-
time, is there a time frame or like forever
But
and ever in?
let me rephrase that. Robert did bring to us a proposal to do this sidewalk all the way down and the one down there on High Street by the Capitol and all that. Remember, they were like $400,000 for a couple of blocks, and we didn't do that. So I think that was done the proposal was brought to us, but we didn't do that from here.
Yeah, gotcha.
The statute just doesn't include sidewalks.
Gotcha.
There's,
Unless you're doing.
unless you're associated with the streets.
So this proposal is for doing the sidewalks associated with
So
the.
this one's assuming we do 1B and 1C.
Right, right.
Assuming we do
I
1B
feel
and
like
1C, it is associated.
We're
But-
doing them.
But we're a month behind from approving those, right?
Yeah, and we say we're doing them, we haven't seen a budget on them yet.
Yeah,
And I assume, and I don't,
or there's still a priority, I should say.
Yeah.
I would say they're a priority.
Yes.
I certainly would agree with that. I think we've kind of all agreed that, but if it came in at $25 million, we might only do 1B or we might only do 1C. And then, or, you know, I don't know what we would do. But
So I think the question is
is this timing?
It's timing. It's not whether we do this or not.
It's not whether we do it or
When
not.
we started or not.
I think we
Or when
agreed,
started.
I think we agreed when we agreed to do the streets and take the sidewalk part out now because it would, the reason we did it that way was they could get the contracts finished ready first if Bill Schaefer didn't have to go design sidewalks at the same time. If all they had to do was look at the streets and curbs, they could move faster, and we said, let's do them as a separate deal. But it wasn't like we weren't gonna do the sidewalk.
So, I have a question, right? So we have 1A, right? And I think the question we're addressing now is for B and C. Do we proceed with 1A, or you're trying to do the combination?
I think it makes sense to do all of them together. My only question is a question of timing, because for them to do the work that they gotta do is gonna take a few months. It's gonna take a while to get all this other.
Sure.
Does it make more sense to see what we're gonna end up doing with 1B and 1C, and then do this, which might be a month from now rather than now? That's
Could be
my,
could be 1 or 2 months from now.
could be 1 or 2 months from now. And it's just a question of what makes sense timing-wise.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, my bet is if we did this, you got to it in 2 months, we're still not gonna give a contract out for fixing the streets in this calendar year.
Correct.
I would like to ask a question. and you might not have any idea of this, have you looked at any of these streets yet? I mean, you don't have any idea what fixing the streets, the sidewalks are gonna cost.
No, sir, no.
Because
No.
you hadn't,
We usually do the design work and then we get an idea.
and you'd have to go out and look at the sidewalks.
Yes, sir.
Y'all haven't even
Yes,
done
sir.
that.
Like, for instance, if, instead of doing the one block,
Yeah.
and we only do 10 feet,
Yeah.
I will give you
Yeah.
a estimate on how much it would cost to
But you
replace
hadn't-
10
But you haven't
feet.
looked at any streets yet?
No, sir.
Okay, that's why I
No,
said,
sir.
that's why I said, yeah.
No, sir.
Okay. All right.
And then I do have one totally unrelated to this contract award, engineering question I'd like to ask you,
Okay.
and an ADA question. One of the streets we got here is the south end of St. Mary. St. Mary is about a mile-long street. 2 blocks of it has a sidewalk on one side. The rest of the other 8 or 9 blocks have none. One of those 2 blocks, the sidewalk is up in there 4 feet and thrown off the side of the weather because there's a big oak tree growing there that the roots have just kicked it out everywhere. Now, the only way I can see to fix that sidewalk is to cut down the oak tree.
Yes, sir.
And I understand that, number one, I ain't gonna vote to do that. But number two, I think that historic preservation takes precedence over ADA. And so it would say you don't fix that. But is there any reason to fix that sidewalk when it's only 2 blocks on a 10, 11 block long street anyway? I mean, this is just, if there's, if you, I just.
Is St.
Is
Mary?
this-
I'm looking
Yeah,
at it.
St. Mary, it's in Bellhaven, and it's the east side of St. Mary. It's literally 50 feet south of Laurel Street. That's where that tree is.
It's a good question. I'm not voting to take down somebody's big old tree.
I mean, it's,
I know-
the oak trees
I
in,
know
the
you evaluate people are.
yeah, but the oak trees in
Now, one of
between,
the things that
it's
we did
between the
on-
curb and the sidewalk.
One of the things that we did on Lamar Street, for instance.
Okay. That's, you get the way I wanna go now.
Yeah, example. On Lamar Street, there was a oak tree, and instead of us keeping the sidewalk 3 feet off the back of the curb, it was a buffer, and then what we did, we jogged back
Moved
in
around.
and put the sidewalk closer to the back of the curb.
Well,
To
this-
avoid from cutting the tree down.
This tree,
or
is-
missing the roots.
this tree is in between the curb and the sidewalk.
Oh,
Takes it all up, yeah.
Yeah, this tree is in between the curb and the sidewalk.
okay, well.
So the only way you can do it is go in the guy's yard 10
Oh.
feet. He ain't gonna agree to that. And the tree's in between the curb and the sidewalk. So when there's only, this is an ADA type question, I want some professional, you might not know. Are we required to fix that block? When, number one, it makes no sense because the sidewalk.
Doesn't go all the way in.
It's like the bridge to nowhere, the sidewalk goes nowhere. And there's no real good solution to fixing it. This is, okay, nobody knows.
We don't know, because we would
Yeah.
definitely have to go through the historic preservation.
Well, we ain't gonna cut down the tree, cause I,
When you might.
but.
And plus, if it goes nowhere,
It's literally, it's that block and one more block, and there's 4 blocks on this side and 8 blocks on this side without a sidewalk.
Okay.
So I mean, it just didn't go,
So go back to the proposal.
Yeah.
Okay.
The plan to postpone it for another month, and
that would be my thought, but that's, y'all,
so your point is based upon where we're in the money, do we move forward, 1B, 1C? Obviously, the change order's gotta get done.
and we also would have somebody to manage the contract and
Right,
public
that's
works.
Keep.
I mean, that we, right now,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
I'm
we're
not,
not, and we're not gonna do the sidewalks in the next.
we're not gonna do the
6 months
sidewalks this
anyway.
calendar year, and I'm not in any way at all against doing this proposal.
Yeah.
I mean, just, I would have liked to have seen the proposal, the specifics.
Do you need
today,
a motion to wait another month, we just table for
I
now?
think we just don't take action.
Right, that's fine.
But understand, I'm not against,
No, I think we're on the same page.
Thank you for providing this.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes.
and this will help. And if you get a chance, just write
Miss
down.
St. Mary's.
It's at the corner of St. Mary and Laurel.
Okay, I will.
Thank you for this.
Don't cut it down.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
don't suggest cutting down the tree.
This is just a list of the 10th Street that we talked about.
Yeah.
Okay. No action on that, just want to highlight that again.
Sidewalks right here,
The
4
next
feet
slide,
up.
just an update on the Mega Evers Boulevard Race grant update. The design work has been, will be funded, environmental documents have been approved by MDOT, and all the other agreements been signed by MDOT. So that project is moving forward. In terms of the Riverside, The sidewalk in front of Salvation Army has been repaired, curb work.
Who's gonna pay for it?
Well,
I mean,
from our last meeting,
last meeting, the
We
mayor was
talked.
gonna get with Terry Williamson, and talk about it. Do we know if anything's come of that discussion?
I have not seen
Okay.
anything on it. Okay. The work has been done, it's been
The work
completed.
was done for the last meeting,
Right.
but Robert said at that meeting,
He said
it was
that-
gonna be paid out of our Riverside Drive funds, which we never obligated, because that's not part of the Riverside Drive project.
Well, according to the minutes, it said that Salvation Army, he was gonna present it to the Salvation Army to pay. And then if they didn't pay, then we were going to risk management.
That's what that's what the February meeting said.
Okay,
And then in April, he sat there and said, we're gonna pay it because we got an underrun.
okay.
And that was what the long discussion was, because, yeah, the February meeting, he said it's gonna be paid, turned over to Salvation Army. But the mayor said to Terry that he wanted to get together and look at it. I just don't know if anything come of that.
Many of you attended the ribbon cutting that was held on Riverside. It was a good event.
I saw the video of it while I was looking for this. It looked like a little windy.
It was windy, but it was a nice day for it.
Had a good crowd.
The water line, we've all talked about that, Jackson Water, we're just waiting on them to complete that.
Is that what's holding up the second bridge
Yes.
over the interstate? Okay.
Yeah, they got the connecting the old line to the new line is
Yeah.
right in the middle of the median at that intersection with Myrtle.
Do we have a time frame on
Yeah, it's gonna be the first of the year, then it's gonna be March.
that of this year?
March of this year. And that's what we were asked about in the last meeting, you weren't here, but the Jackson Water said they were gonna fix it, they would do it if we'd wait. And so the question was, let's see if Jackson Water would give us an idea. The discussion we had, just to bring up, I don't think it's a priority to Jackson Water, because their water system's running fine right now, but it's stopping our project. That's what the mayor was saying, that we need to see if Jackson Water can move it up on its priority list, because they don't care. I mean, it's,
Why would they?
you know, their water line's running through their fine right now.
The Meadowbrook Road project, all the paperwork has been turned in to MDOT. They have reviewed the last comments that should have been provided this past Monday before we can close that project out. The Mill Street Brook Creek Bridge is complete. Ribbon cutting was held. It was another great event. I think the rain may have caught some of us doing that ribbon cutting. Terry Road resurfacing, MDOT has reviewed the final.
What did we find out there about, has the certificate of completion been finished yet? Because they ain't gone out there and fixed those manholes yet. The mayor was in agreement with this last night.
Right, and we have mentioned that
But
too.
Southern said they'd done all they could do. I don't want them paid. I make a motion that the final payment to Southern Consulting and Hemp Hill not be paid until the resolution gets done. Now, we can't control that, but speaking from the commission, I want to see until they get those manholes and valve covers put flush with the thing, that we do not make a final payment on that contract.
We have made that known to the consultant.
I'm making a motion that you don't pay them until it gets fixed.
Can we do that?
We can't stop it, but we can say that's what we want to have done.
Makes-
And the mayor was agreeing with this at the last meeting.
It's non-binding.
Well, it might be non-binding, but
You're just going on record.
Okay, you're passing a resolution.
I don't know whether it's binding or not. If we're not gonna, if they hadn't finished the contract, I mean, the mayor's saying they're not gonna sign a certificate of completion. What I wanna do is say, let's tell the city, hold that money until it gets resolved. Now, maybe we don't have to, because it's not been 9 or 10 months yet, so they might not be making the payment anyway.
Yeah.
I say with my tongue in cheek. But, we ought not be paying that until they finish the project. And we've done it on every other. How many times do you hit manholes outside of getting to your office going up and down Capitol, Old Canton, where we did that street, and every one of those manholes is, we've been talking about this for 4 years, that they ought not to. Southern Consultants was in here along with with Neil Schaefer, along with Wagner's folk one time, when I said, we ain't gonna pay anybody unless they get it done right. I mean, they heard this word said, because said it directly to the engineers. I'm saying we ought not be paying them, the city ought not be paying them until they finish the project and do it right.
Okay.
I think to Nathan's point, should be a resolution,
You
maybe.
should make a statement on behalf of the commission, I guess is what you're doing.
Yeah,
Make it again.
I want, I don't know how you want to.
So but we're paying the professional, we're paying the engineers to oversee the work, and they send an application for payment based on it being complete.
Mhm.
So we just need to be very explicit with the engineers that it has to be checked and be flush before we accept.
Correct.
Yeah.
And for paying them and for paying the contractor, saying it's complete too, because he ain't completed like the contract said.
Well, I mean, the city's not gonna approve payment until the engineer has approved the work.
But the engineer has approved the work.
Well, then we need to go with the engineer, because we're paying the
Okay,
The
the
engineer.
engineer has approved it and said it's finished. And when we asked about this in February, Robert came back at the last meeting, said they've done the best they could do. Well, my answer is, doing the best you can do ain't right unless it's done right. Unless they can tell us, here's the physical reason why it can't be done. Here's the physical reason why we can't make that manhole flush with the pavement, like every other city around us does.
Can we have, let me offer this, can we have legal to send them a letter to indicate that we're not making the final payment until everything gets.
That would be fine with me.
And somewhere in the letter indicate that we're not paying any late fees
Yeah.
until all.
I think
this
that's a
is-
good addition
because
to
if
it.
we just make a resolution, put it forth, we hold it up, we're gonna get invoices for
Well, I
that
think-
payment.
I think-
Hemphill is gonna come back and tell us that
I
we
think-
didn't pay them in a timely manner.
But I think the
We-
project's not complete, so the thing ought to be, it's not complete because they haven't
Right.
finished it according to the specs. And
Would
so,
that be an option? Can we-
Yeah.
That's great.
that's a
Okay.
great solution.
That's great.
Make a note of that and get Terry to send a letter.
And, you know, the mayor was saying, he was asking Terry to find out if we'd done a certificate of completion. He said,
Right.
I'm not gonna sign one until it gets fixed.
Okay.
But they didn't know if the certificate had already been done or not. And Michael, they might have already paid them. I don't know.
Okay, so,
So there's a retainage on it, right?
There should be.
This is Mill Street?
No, this
No,
is
this
Terry
is
Road
Terry.
resurfacing.
Oh, Terry
Terry
Road.
Road.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine they've already been paid, but there should be a retainage. Both of them ought to have a final.
Right, right, okay.
And let me ask you this, does that take approval of MDOT before you can make a final payment?
Well, we gotta be careful of that because there's so many days after the completion of the work for us to close it out.
Yeah, but what I'm saying-
Or else we go on a non-compliant.
I agree, but
List.
this is saying that you sent the paperwork to close it out. If we ain't gotten that back yet, my question is, if we ain't got it back from MDOT, does that mean that we hadn't paid them? Is that an indication that we hadn't paid them? Seemed like to me it would be.
Okay. You on the Terry Road project?
Yeah, the Terry Road.
Oh, I can give it to you. Okay.
Okay.
I'll check with him down about that.
Okay,
But
but,
you know, yeah, okay.
and your idea of getting legal to send this letter saying we want the job finished and finished right, and we can't pay you until it's done, and the burden to me falls on consultants,
Yeah. Okay.
because they're the ones that give the paper saying it's finished.
All right, I think we got that one resolved.
Okay.
Woodrow Wilson, MLK to Mill Street, pre-bid conference was held this past Monday. Getting ready to advertise that one. There are some issues with the sidewalk and going from MLK Drive to Five Points and the utility poles there. We're in conversation with Entergy about that before we bid this, before we
get
start
started.
advertising.
Right.
We don't want the same thing to happen on Woodrow Wilson that happened on Capitol Street. So we're working on that. In terms of Woodrow Wilson, I-55 to Mill Street, this is something that we've been talking about. Talked to MDOT. MDOT said the original proposal was from I-55 to Mill Street with the third lane, and MPO funds would be available. Now, if we change that anyway, MPO funds would not be available. The other option was I-55 to State Street. I think that's was a suggestion.
Well, the original proposal for the MPO money did not include the third lane.
We did not?
It did not.
Okay.
MDOT came to us after we'd been awarded it and asked us to add the third lane,
Okay.
and they would pay for it. And so we then went and paid Michael Baker another $200,000 to engineer it with the third lane. And so the original we did, I mean, what we said last meeting was, if we don't go all the way to Mill Street, we believed that
Could save some
we
money.
lose the MPO money.
Right.
But the discussion was, does it hurt to ask them if we could keep it? And if this red is an answer to asking if we can keep it, okay, they gave us the answer we thought we were gonna
That's
get.
the answer.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Now, they're waiting on us to decide which direction we're gonna go.
Well-
And they said that if we decide, whatever direction we go, then they will see whether or not there's some MDOT money available for this project as well.
Who was that meeting with?
With MDOT?
Yeah, with who?
William Alexander.
Well, no, the discussion, what?
William Andrews?
William
The
Andrews.
discussion we had, because we've been having this, was meeting with Brad White and Willie Summons and Lee Fredericks, the
Well,
MPO.
he said, once we decide, the commissioners will decide how much money they're gonna put on the project.
Well, but we were supposed to be getting a meeting with them set up.
Okay.
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 Wasn't there a water line issue as well?
Wait. We gave the
project.
project to MDOT. We
Yeah.
took bids on it as $3 million out of the money, because it's concrete and only one builder,
Yeah.
and they didn't want to do it. So we bid it again. So then we gave the money to MDOT, and MDOT was gonna build it. Then MDOT came back and was worried about the water line, said they wanted a letter saying the city would take any responsibility for the water. And that didn't get resolved for 9 months because the legal people didn't get it back.
Right.
And so then they said they wanted to replace. So now we're taking it back so that MDOT's not building it because we didn't want to pay the
Got it.
$7 million for a water line.
Got it.
So this proposal was for the city to take it back and for the city to issue a
And
contract.
NDOT will send funds to the city to be able to supplement the work.
If, the
Whatever
question was,
comes, whatever it
the
is.
question was if we built it and added a third lane, would MDOT pay part of it? I don't think we can do it the way he's talking about because we'd have to take bids for the third lane and say, and then you say they're not gonna do it, well, then we're not gonna do it, we'd have to take bids again for the, I mean, I think the goal was to go say, MDOT Executive Director and MDOT Commissioner, if we were to do this, here's the plans, and Willie, all right, I'll be honest, I've talked with Willie about it over drinks at Scrooge's in the Weston, but he hadn't seen it on paper. You know, and we talked with Brad about it, but to sit down and show, here's it is, and here it is, y'all wanted this, it looks like there's gonna be $2 more million, how much of that will y'all put in it?
Yeah, right.
That's the meeting that I thought we were aimed at, and last meeting we said wait till the appropriation stuff is through at the legislature, not because the guy, but the commissioner, the director.
Thank you. The
worked-
meeting has now ended.
All right, bye.
Okay.
Anyway.
I'll go back to MDOT
Well-
with that.
How about not going back to MDOT? How about let's setting up a meeting, you, the mayor, or whoever, with those folks that are gonna be the ones making the decision, not this staffer down here, but, and say, here's what we're asking to do, will y'all put money into it and how much? Because that's what frankly, that's what they're waiting for us to set up and do. The question I was gonna have today was trying to say, what's the best way to figure out what the mayor's schedule is to put with Brad White and the commissioner's schedule to put something together. How should that coordinate?
Tiffany coordinates that so she can put it.
Tiffany, okay. I mean, they said, find out when the mayor could come, they would look and see when they could do it. And see if we can't get, and it might not be the mayor that wants to go, it might want to send the public works director. You know, I don't know who wants to go sit in that meeting. But Willie Simmons is favorable and leaning towards doing this. He just want to know basically what we're talking about doing and how much.
Okay. We'll get that meeting
Okay.
scheduled.
We can get it set up.
All right. All right. Moving right along. Some additional federal aid, 1% projects. You can just see all of the design work is underway on all of these projects that we have. The bridge replacement program, design work on all of our bridge projects. And I'm sorry.
Can I raise just for information question? I got a call from my dear friend who calls, and if y'all have ever dealt with you, you'd understand what I'm talking about, Supervisor Deborah Dixon, who right after she got elected called me and wanted to talk about streets in her district and all this. And we rode all around over there. And the Smallwood Bridge and the Shaw Road Bridge were just high up on the, y'all have been hearing from her too.
I heard from her too.
I'm sure you have. And it can be a long, long conversation.
Yes.
And hard to, well, she called me yesterday and was asking about them again. I said, I think Smallwood contract was issued for the engineering last month. I think Shaw was the same thing. I'll go back and look. She said, well, I'm gonna take them, we're just gonna do them ourselves. And I said, you wanna do that with county money? I'm sure that could be worked out and that we'll let you go spend it. But if you're going to, make that decision because there's no need for these people to keep on working for us to pay it. Or else y'all, we'll hand you the plans that they do and let y'all do it.
Okay.
But she right now is, now she might change, you know her tomorrow. She
Yes.
might change tomorrow and not want to do it, but right now she's saying it's taking the city too long. I'm gonna do it myself.
Okay. So
I mean, I said, hey, that'd be fine.
yeah, without-
No objection from,
That's what she told me.
That's what
And,
you- okay.
Yeah, she was talking about an interlocal agreement. I said, I don't even think we need that. I
Don't
think
you-
all we need is an MOU.
yeah, I mean, if
And
they
you
say
can
they're
go
gonna do
for
it, they
Can
can
we,
do it.
can we give them the plans, the work we've done? And
Well, actually,
or whatever.
they only got the contract approved by the city council a month ago. Whether they've actually signed the contract yet, maybe a
We'll find
question.
out where they are.
I think they've all been signed.
Well, but they probably hadn't done very much work.
Yeah.
But
They,
even if they have to, I mean, I
Yeah.
would be more than willing to.
I- actually,
And let them pay for the actual.
I agree, I'd be
That would
willing to continue paying for the design and hand it to them,
Absolutely.
if that's what they want to do.
That's skin in the game.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah, so I think that confirms that. I know, the other day in the
when
council
did she
meeting,
call you?
Last
another
week.
gentleman
That's when she
heard
called
from
me,
another supervisor who said they wanted to contribute funds towards the Beasley Road.
Well, that's,
bridge. So-
Graham is gonna have the county do the
Right.
repair for a temporary repair on Beasley Road.
Right,
I don't think they were gonna give us the money. I think they were gonna, what was said at the last meeting was, they were gonna do a temporary repair of splicing the pilings or something while the engineering was done on the rest of it. And he brought that up at their meeting this last Monday, and I think they approved that the county is, which I think they gotta get an MOU or something with the city to do that,
yeah.
but they are moving ahead, but that's a temporary just to get it open again.
Okay.
Now, but you're
Yeah.
talking with Dixon, that Shaw
Mhm.
Road? So
Shaw
that,
Bridge. Mhm.
oh, so that's not the same, because I see Beasley Road.
No, that's a different,
Oh, that's a
No.
different.
Shaw
one.
Road and Smallwood, which is right above Oak Forest School, I think, and Shaw are both in her district, and she's,
Those are the two that she has said that the city.
Those are the two
the
that-
county would like to potentially take on.
Right.
Okay.
let me rephrase that just a
Graham is
little.
looking
Those
at
are the two
these
that
rules.
she, as supervisor, said, we're gonna take over, but there are four other members on the supervisor, so I'm not sure.
Right.
You know, and I'm not sure how.
But I think they have funds
I think they got
for
funds.
their
I think,
district.
she asked me about what I thought they would cost to do them, and I could do a ballpark estimate. I think they got funds.
Okay,
She says
great.
that she's gonna do it, and that's, my answer was, I said, I thought the city'd be fine with that.
Absolutely.
Those are the two out of those that are in her district.
Okay.
I'm sorry, she
The
got
next
you.
slide is just some of the street projects that are going on. I know we all have interest in this Capitol Street, Bowling, Apprentice Street with the utility poles and the sidewalk. We had a meeting with Entergy last week. They brought in their right-of-way acquisition team, their design engineers. They have a solution for that. And they're going to try to get some additional right-of-way on those properties where the poles are located, where they will not let us move the poles into their property. They're gonna swing those utility lines across the street to, attach to another pole, and that way that'll get it out the sidewalk. They'll remove the poles out the sidewalk as well. And if they break up anything, they have committed to repaving and straightening all of that out. So we're moving forward with getting those poles out the sidewalk there. And you can see what we're doing on the rest of the campus.
All right.
Yeah.
The first one, Beasley Road. It doesn't look like the engineer's gone very far on that. I saw where in the transfer bill from the legislature, the state gave Hines County money to redo Beasley Road. So, I don't know what section of Beasley Road, I don't know if that was defined in there, but in all the monies that they were passing out and giving away with the fruit basket, Hines County will be receiving 1st of July money for Beasley Road. I think we ought to, at this stage, ask whoever it is that's the engineer on that, to stop where they are right now until we find out more about what's going on with that, with not expending more money on Beasley Road if they have, so that over this next month we can figure out if it's the same sections or, oh, they could just hand the plan over to Hines, or whether Hines got enough to do the whole street. It might be that they're only gonna do, like the legislature normally does, they give you some money, but they call it east. And we might have to, but then it's a question of which one of us is gonna do it, Hines or the city, but it's just one of those coordination things I think we need to look at.
Okay, all right, we can find out.
I mean, I think it's good news. I'm glad to see.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, move to the next. The MPO called the project. Doing the watering projects in May, the city was awarded 3 projects, 2 bridge repair projects, Dixie Road and McClure Road. And you can see what the MPO funding would be and what our matching amount would be. Then we had 1 paving project, and that's an overlay from McDowell Road Extension, from Raymond Road to Suncrest Drive. They approved that one, and you can see what our matching amount is. We have now between June and August for moving those projects forward. We'll be meeting with MDOT to talk about moving those projects along. And in January is when we had a call for the projects, and these projects that were awarded will be worked on the 2025 through 2028 time period. So they're being added to the current projects that we're working on.
Can you get us a list of what was submitted and asked for?
Yes, yes. I'll send this out to all the commissioners.
Okay, thank you.
Copy of it. Yep. All right. Discussion, question, comments?
I think we've discussed everything.
I move we adjourn.
All in favor? We're adjourned.
You're welcome.
Pete taking us home quickly.
I have a reputation in the state committee meetings.